Well, we did not lack intensity today. That was it was a good good practice in a sense of guys coming out with purpose. I think sometimes the intensity got you know we got to be make sure we're maintaining control of emotions at times. But I thought it was good work today. We got back to back days today, tomorrow, so thought we set the stage well for what tomorrow's going to be, and for some of the areas which I was some of the inconsistency of what I saw earlier in on Tuesday's practice. I thought we responded. Now it's just time to make sure that with all the intensity, all the passion, the push to improve, that we maintain focus on fundamentals, techniques, doing things the right way. And so, I thought it was a good work day in that regards. Obviously, still working through some installations, so it's you're trying to make sure that we've got a great foundation as we transition to the summer here at the end of these next handful of practices. We are still trying to push and implement, helping guys understand language, expectations. Still working to push tempo on both sides of the ball, getting some good special teams work. And you're letting those guys show what they're capable of doing. So, all in all, a good day, and leads us into what's going to be an important day for this team tomorrow.
I was going to ask you, why is the schedule different this week?
Just the way the calendar fell, we're sitting there, and we started. Well, I wanted the full 8-week program, leading up the winter program, leading up to spring practice, which put us to a post spring break start, and still trying to maximize the days and the times. We decide to have two practices where you had to get a back to back. The first two, and then obviously this one I'm going to give the guys off this weekend as they go into the last week. Just to get an opportunity to really almost say reset, but to take a deep breath, and then it's going to be a mad dash sprint through the finish of spring practice. And every day, every practice, it's critical. But we've been going at it pretty good, and I think the guys are they're in a good spot. But we need to have another physical day tomorrow, but then try to give them they'll basically have 3 days before we get back on the field for what will be our last padded practice before the last scrimmage. So I think it just sets up well.
Brandon, can I do a two-part? Sure.
2 for 1.
Multi-layered. With the intensity today, it sounds like that's something you were looking for. I guess who were kind of the ones bringing that charge?
Yeah, I think it was both sides. It wasn't just, and you're looking. I don't ever want it to be just one position or one group. That's we saw I saw fight and determination. I thought one of my favorite plays today, Squirrel White, who's kind of been limited, not the biggest receiver in the world, had a big time block there out on the perimeter. Just where you felt him going in there and trying to be physical, trust the technique, fundamentals. It's kind of been a guy that's been limited with the physicality aspect of it. But it was good to see that. I thought there was really good battles in the trenches. You feel running backs, linebackers, safeties fitting. So there's been some good elements on both sides. But yeah, I can't just sit there and say, well, it's just this group. Which if that was the case, we'd probably be in trouble. So
was that, I guess, just generally then like the response you were looking for with it in regards to like the intensity?
Yes, I like the intensity. I like the competitiveness. It's being in control in those moments too. Because sometimes you can have all the passion, the energy, the intensity that's out there, but if you're not in control of that, it can get sloppy. And I don't think we didn't get to that point, but there was moments where we gotta respond in the moment where there was times where I didn't see it as clean as I wanted, and so but it was a good work day.
You said Friday is a really important day. Is that just because the weekend coming up, or do you want to see them like a weekend off, or stacking them?
I want to see stacked practices for the intensity that we saw today. I want it ramped up tomorrow. We're going goal line, red zone. I mean, we're going to put it. It's not going to be the longest practice that we've had. It'll probably be one of the shortest practices we've had. But usually within the spring, we try to have a practice to remember. And tomorrow's going to be one that I want them to remember.
Ira, do you have an idea in your head, like where you want to be after 3 weeks, where you want to be after, like how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, you have, yes, individually, collectively side of ball, as a football team, you want to see progress, you want to see growth. There's, a big part of spring is, who are you going to be? What is it going to look like? We've had, some injuries that have made, certain positions a little bit more challenging of getting a sense of, best qualities that guys have. We're getting, I know, Micah got work today, Gunner got work today, Jalen Early, which I didn't really expect, a whole lot of, but I saw him getting, more and more. Richie's been getting some work, so obviously we know the O-line position has been one that's taking some hits, but you're seeing those guys get back in there and seeing some progress to what they've been doing through film study, but now getting the physical aspect of it, I think is good. Still not full go on it, but hopefully we'll be able to get a little bit of that here this next week, with them. But you still want to you want to see the mentality that's showing up. Are guys responding to the standard that's being set? Our coaches, are we holding them accountable to that standard? Are we? What's the energy, the encouragement, the affirmation when it's right, the challenge, when it's not. And so I want to see that progression, and I think I have seen it. Still some, it'll be a process, leading up to the season, of exactly who we are and what it's going to be. But I think a lot of that's starting to take hold.
Kirk, you talked about the intensity. I don't know if you would say maybe that devolved into chippiness or anything like that. How much do you want to see that balance struck on days like this where you don't want things to get out of control, but you maybe want that competitiveness to fuel over a bit just because of the effort that's on display?
Yeah, I mean, you want guys that are competing to win, and every we're trying to give plenty of moments to put that on display, and you want to win the right way and do it the right way. But I want to see guys fight to win. So if it gets chippy, go be it. Be controlled, be disciplined. But yeah, I mean, and that's where there were some times where we weren't as clean in that. Some new players, new guys from high school. Just everybody comes from different ways of operation. But we're going to operate a certain way, and we'll get out there and we'll mix it up. And but I want it all.
Anything else? Corey?
With this spring, obviously you have a new defense and a new offense. You're implementing a lot. It sounds like one of the things you're trying to implement more than anything else is what we've been talking about the last evening. Was that the goal? I know that's your goal going into every practice, but toughness, intensity, fight, competitiveness, that's something that was absolutely on your mind? Hell yes.
Yes. Like that, if you can take all the nice, pretty plays you want to draw up and all the defenses, but if you don't chase the ball, if you don't, play with pad level, explosiveness, strike, run your feet, knock people back, like if you're not going to bring that, then it just things that sound good. I mean, I want to feel Florida State football. Like that is the demand and the expectation, and a lot of work that goes into that. But yes, I mean, I love all the cool plays and the looks that we can give offensively and defensively, but how we're executing them and how we're doing them, that's what's going to stand out when it comes to the identity of this team. Thank you, guys.